Hello, my name's Michael Conneely and this is a video about the moon. The moon in our astrology birth chart. What does it mean for us in our life? How can we understand it? So I'm filming this in the far west of Ireland where we have a healing centre, and I do many worldwide readings and courses. So the moon essentially represents the divine female, whereas the sun is essentially the cosmic masculine force. So in a sense, the sun is Shiva and the moon is Shakti. The sun is our divine creator. The moon, our divine creatrix. The sun is fire, the moon is water. And the moon is of such importance to understand, the moon in our birth chart. Indeed, we are mostly water. And like the sea and the creatures of the sea, we're moulded by the tides created by the waxing and waning of the phases of the moon. And so the sun is our light and clarity, who we are. The sun is the divine charioteer who drives the chariot of self. Our character, our individuality. The sun shines, the sun is constant, even if clouds obscure. The sun is will and achievement. And so the sun can create consciousness positively. And the sun stands alone, he's action, achievement, ambition and goals. And we need all those things. We need to bring divine perception to them to purify them. The sun is yang, the sun is the seed. And this is all a matter of polarity, not sexual gender, by the way. But the moon is our relating. The moon is reflection and vulnerability and feelings. And above all, the big truth about the moon is that she fluctuates. And it makes a huge difference which phase of the moon we're born under. It really does. Make or break our chart. Greatly affect our life. And so often the different phases of the moon have been depicted as Virgin, Mother and Crone. And so the waxing young moon is like the goddesses Artemis, Diana, Persephone, whereas the full moon is the mother, Ceridwen, Ceres, Demeter. Demeter was the goddess of harvest who presides over grains and fertility. And then we have the old moon, Hecate and Epona, such different goddesses. And they capture the moon energy that is within us. Now remember, some goddesses are more connected with the planet Venus, for example, Inanna and Ishtar. And some goddesses are sun goddesses, for example, Sekhmet of the Egyptians and Sunna of the Norse. Now, there's an awful lot, obviously, to talk about the moon. The topic of the astrological moon is vast. So there's a huge blog on the subject, and the blog address is down below in the YouTube write-up. And I won't go into all that now. So let's look a bit deeper about what the moon in our birth chart tells us and why it's so valuable to study it in a course or hear about our moon in a reading. Because the moon floats in a sea of the unconscious. We're actually in the unconscious. It massively affects us until we become aware of it. Basically because it drives us into strange places in our lives, or drives us into exalted places, but we don't know why. Where is all this coming from? Where are all these motivations coming from? And so the moon is yin, and the moon is the womb that gives birth. The moon is also intuition and inspiration. And for the ancient Vedic sages, the moon was Soma, the divine Soma, who was experienced through the desert cactus divine hallucinogen. the nectar that calmed, rejuvenated and opened the mind. And so on the level of our human mind, the moon is our mind, capital M, our consciousness, our soul. And it arises out of our experiences of mothering and family and hereditary qualities. And it feeds to us imagination and memory with daily fluctuations in our emotions. And so when you look at the moon in the birth chart, it tells you so much about your mothering and your childhood and your consciousness arising therefrom. That is such a huge script for you to study, gain divine perception about, work with, so as not to become its passive victim necessarily, so that you can in fact go beyond it to achieve what you came to achieve this life. Because positively the moon is sensitive and devoted, feeling love and friendship for all. But a negative moon creates personality disorders, emotional disturbances, torn relationships. And the negative moon in your birth chart will manifest as poor heredity qualities, educational torsion, emotional trauma. And the moon can be very overcome by having malefic planets close to it, especially being conjunct Saturn. But having Uranus near it is someone with a very biting emotional makeup, impatient, biting. And another thing is the moon shouldn't be isolated in a chart. If you have your moon with no planets near either side, in Vedic astrology it's called Kimadruma. And that's very difficult for mental and emotional stability, mental and emotional continuity. And if you have that situation, it's good perception to know. And you can, for example, do regular mantra each morning to provide continuity, to stabilize the mind, capital M, and to provide a sort of barometer of what your consciousness is doing that day and day by day. What else could I say? There's quite a lot of the psychology of the moon that you can read about in the blog and delve into in the readings and courses. So I won't go into that now. What I'll do is I'll jump forward from the more astronomical stuff to the moon as parent indicators. Well, basically, this is very important. The status of the sun in your birth chart tells you so much about father, how father will manifest in your life. And so if you have a weak father, so sun deeply fallen in Libra, in Vedic Libra, or edge of sign, well then how can you be your strong divine charioteer? How can you chart your way forward? So the sun is father. And also, in the Vedic chart, you look at the 9th house. In the Western chart, you often look at the 4th house for the psychology of how you experience father, and the 10th house as mother. You look at all these things and weigh them up. But the moon is mother. And so in Vedic astrology, you look at the moon and the 4th house for really accurate guidance of what your experience of mothering is. And it's so helpful to do that, because otherwise you're living your life blindly and you can get into a real mess. Because our earliest experiences of mothering are our deepest instinctual and feeling patterns. Because it's to mother we turn for life, for food, for identity, for satisfying our needs, for the root of our security. It's from mother that we seek comfort and nourishment. And in a man, the man's inner feminine, his anima, is really built up out of his experience of mothering. And it's a very good idea to journey to the moon in your birth chart and to meet your anima. What is your inbuilt experience of women? Make that consciousness. Try to heal your relationships in the light of that perception. Because when there are many challenging aspects to the moon in your birth chart, there will inevitably innate scripts, tensions and tensions. The deeper foundations of your individuality, will be washed away or inadequately built. It's so important to have that statement. So, you can get in touch with me for my audio to do a journey to the moon. You can do a journey to your individual moon. You can have a reading from me, or you can work with me on the moon and all your planets in my worldwide astrology courses covering Western astrology and Vedic astrology. So, I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.